जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जनाय यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जनाय यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जनाय यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhams Parivrajakacharyastotr Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Seeking the blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas, especially Prabhupada disciples here, so that I can speak something on this topic today. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 84. We have verses from 48 to 51. 51 has a purport, so we will recite 51 and then later on I'll recite the other 3 verses. द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियेश्वरम् इजेनो यज्ञं विधिना अग्निहोत्रादिलक्षणे द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियेश्वरम् इजेनु यज्ञं विधिना अग्निहोत्रादिलक्षणे प्राकृतेर्विकृतेर्यज्ञे द्रव्यज्ञानक्रियेश्वरम् Mataji's Mataji's word to word meaning. Ije, he worshipped. Anuyagyam, with each kind of sacrifice. Vidina, by the proper regulations. Agnihotra, by offering oblations into the sacred fire. Adi, and so on. Lakshane, characterized. Prakrite, unmodified, completely specified in the Shruti injunctions. Vaikrite, modified, adjusted according to the indications of other sources. Yagye, with sacrifices. Dravya, of the sacrificial paraphernalia. Jnana, of the knowledge of mantras. Kriya, of the rituals. Ishwaram, the Lord. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: performing various kinds of Vedic sacrifice according to the proper regulations, Vasudeva worshipped the Lord of all sacrificial paraphernalia, mantras, and rituals. He executed both the primary and the secondary sacrifices, offering oblations to the sacred fire and carrying out other aspects of sacrificial worship. Purport: there are numerous kinds of Vedic fire sacrifices, each of which involves several elaborate rituals. The Brahmana portions of the Vedic Shruti specifies the complete step-to-step procedure of only a few prototype sacrifices such as the Jyotish Soma and the Darsha Purnamasa. These are called Prakrita or original yagyas. The details of other yagyas must be extrapolated from the patterns of these Prakrita injunctions according to the strict rules of the Mimam Shastras. Since other yagyas are thus known by derivation from the prototype sacrifices, they are called Vaikrita or changed. Text 48, we'll just go through. Text 48. Tabe dukula valayir haranupura kundale swalankritabir bibabo dikshito ajina samvrita. Vasudev received initiation along with his wives, who wore silk saris and were adorned with bangles, necklace, ankle bells, and earrings. With his body wrapped in a deerskin, Vasudev shone splendidly. Tasyarprito Maharaja Ratnakaushaya Vasasa Sasadasya Virejuste Yathavritahano Adhvare. My dear Maharaj Parikshit, Vasudev's priest and the officiating members of the assembly, dressed in silk dhotis and jeweled ornaments, looked so effulgent that they seemed to be standing in the sacrificial arena of Indra, the killer of Vrita. Tada Ramascha Krishnascha Swair Bandhubiranvita Rejato Swa Sute Dharer Jivishao Swa Vibhutibhi. At that time, Balram and Krishna, the Lord of all living entities, shone forth with great majesty in the company of their respective sons, wives, and other family members, who were expansions of their opulence. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from the 10th canto, 84th chapter, the sage's teachings at Kurukshetra. And the section which is going on is Vasudev performing this yagya. And the purport is also quite technical. So I'll be this morning, before I touch into this verse, I'll be discussing 4 important themes. First is the pastimes of Krishna which he performs outside of Vrindavan, which are the Aishwarya pastimes, which is Mathura and Dwarka. And within that, 3 chapters are devoted to the Kurukshetra Leela, and this is the heart of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Actually, the whole Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy evolved from this Kurukshetra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy in the Rath Yatra it manifested, So, I will be speaking about the importance of understanding these Aishwarya Leelas and what is the import. And then I'll be discussing about the sages' teachings which are happening in this Kurukshetra. And there is an external event which is happening, and there are also internal events which are happening. And what are the external and the internal events, and how do we understand them? And then I'll be touching on these 4 verses. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna in 7.2 says, Jnanam teham sa vijnanam idam vakshyam asheshata yagyatva neha bhuyenach gyatavyam avashishyate. I will give you Gyan as well as Vigyan. Jnanam teham sa vijnanam. So Srila Vishnu Chakra Thakur mentions Gyan as Aishwarya Gyan and the Vigyan as Madhurya Gyan. What is this Aishwarya Gyan? Knowing Krishna's powers, how he through his Shaktis creates these universes. And the Vigyan is, it's not the Madhurya Ras, the Vigyan is the sweetness of Krishna, that how he intimately and lovingly reciprocates with his devotees. So that's what is there in the middle 6 chapters of the Bhakti section in the Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, if you see the entire overview of the Bhagavatam, there is the Aishwarya Gyan in the first 3 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna, through his external potency Maya, creates these universes. So Sarga and Visarga, in one sense, is the Aishwarya Leela of the Lord. And then, from the 3rd canto onwards, there are the avatars which manifest within this creation, beginning from Varadev. So the Lord's Aishwarya feature in the form of various avatars are discussed from the 3rd canto to the 10th canto. 9th canto end. In the 10th canto, there is the pastimes of the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who is the Akhila Rasamrita Murti, the ocean of Madhurya pastimes. Madhurya here again means the sweet, intimate pastimes of Vrindavan which she performs. So, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he recited this verse, Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachito Pasana Vrajavadu Varge Naya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Paumarto Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatrartana Paraha. So for us, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Aradhya Bhagavan is Vrajatanaya. He is Vrindavan Krishna, not Mathura Krishna or Dwarka Krishna. And Tadham is Vrindavanam. And the mood of worship is Ramya Kachita Vrajavadu. And where is the Praman? Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. So the Vrindavan pastimes are given in the 10th canto till 41st chapter. And then there is the Mathura pastimes which are in 9 or 10 chapters, and then the Dwarka pastimes beginning from 50th to 90th chapter. And within this 3 chapters of the Kurukshetra pastimes which we are seeing now. So how as Gaudiya Vaishnavas we should understand and study the Dwarka pastimes or the Mathura pastimes? How do we understand them? Because we might say, Arey, Kavi Karanpur in his commentary to the 10th canto, Anand Vrindavan Champu, he narrated the Vrindavan pastimes till chapter 41, but he just could not take Krishna out of Vrindavan. So he completed his commentary there only. He did not go ahead. But how do we understand these Aishwarya pastimes of Dwarka and Mathura? So Srila Jiva Goswami in his Gopal Champu presents these pastimes from the Vrindavan-centric point of view. Actually, in the Gopal Champu, it is Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta who are narrating the pastimes right from Krishna's birth. And of course, they are narrating all the pastimes which Krishna performed even in Vrindavan, Dwarka and Mathura. But who are the listeners? The listeners are the Brajbasis themselves. And how these Brajbasis are actually seeing even the Dwarka pastimes from a Vrindavan-centric point of view, how they are seeing. So this is one way we can see these pastimes of Krishna in Dwarka and Mathura. Secondly, especially the Aishwarya pastimes of Mathura and Leela are very, very important for the sadhakas to understand. Just like there is a pastime of Satyajit, who got this Samantak jewel, and he was shining effulgent like the sun god. In fact, he had a desire to become more famous than Krishna, more opulent than Krishna, more shining than Krishna. So this anartha was there. And ultimately, because of this anartha, what happened? He was killed and he was destroyed. So similarly, this Aishwarya Gyan is important for us to understand, the Bhagavat Sambandha Gyan, which Krishna is giving. But ultimately, this Aishwarya Gyan, pastimes have to be understood so that we destroy these anarthas by reading the Dwarka and the Mathura pastimes. Because our attraction to Krishna should be for Vrindavan Krishna, who is full of Madhurya. And just like within the Vrindavan pastimes, there is the Nitya Leela and the Naimitik Leela. The Nitya Leela are the eternal pastimes which Krishna performs here also in this Bhaum Vrindavan and in the spiritual world. But the Naimitik Leela are only performed here in Bhaum Leela. And for sadhakas, it is more important to understand the Naimitik Leelas. Because all these killing of the demons are anarthas in the heart. So one has to work on them. So that's how we should, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, understand these pastimes. So now coming to this whole pastime where, in 3 chapters, where Krishna from Dwarka has come to Kurukshetra because of the solar eclipse. And you know that Dwarka is right way in Gujarat, it is in east, and Kurukshetra is all the way north. And Vrindavan is again south here, which is far away from Kurukshetra. Now when Krishna left from Vrindavan to Mathura, the Vrindavan Vasis did not actually go to meet Krishna there. And the reason being because of Rasabhas. They saw Krishna in his Madhuri feature, but as in Mathura he was in his Aishwarya feature. So there was a Rasabhas. And although Mathura was near, but they did not ever go. It's only Nanda Maharaj and some who had gone to leave Krishna, and they immediately came back. But here you can see during this event of the solar eclipse, they went. And they went because they were deeply afflicted by the separation from Krishna. And the deeper import, why in Kurukshetra, as I was mentioning, we will just discuss about it. So they were feeling the intense separation from Krishna. And they went, all the Brajvasis. And in fact, it is mentioned that, when they had this meeting, that we all had to go, and then who will stay back to protect, Vrindavan, protect our cows, protect our fields? Who will stay back? So when this question came up, the gopis also wanted to meet Krishna. And ultimately it was decided, the husbands also wanted, because their hearts were purified, they also wanted to go. But it was decided that the husbands will stay back and protect, Vrindavan, and the wives can go, so that they can, fully relish the meeting of Krishna. So, when they went during this event, now Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in one of his talks in the Vyas Gaudiya Mutt in Kurukshetra, he reveals actually the glory of Kurukshetra Dham. And he is addressing the Mattvasis, and he says that that we have a very important service here. Actually, he is giving this lecture when actually there was a solar eclipse, and all the people would have come to do their rituals, yagya, sacrifices and all, which traditionally people do in the Vedic times of the Karma. Even now also people do. So we have an important service. We have to serve this pilgrims who have come here, and he says that this is actually a service to the Brajbasis, because the Brajbasis also had come to meet Krishna in Kurukshetra. So by externally doing these events of the rituals, they are getting purified of their sins. But actually they are deeply awakening their loving service to Krishna. This is the benefit they were going to get by doing these external rituals in Kurukshetra. And we as Vaishnavas should assist them. And this assistance, what we are doing, this is actually the assistance of the gopis who are deeply affected because of separation from Krishna. And our job is to actually prepare a chariot and take it to the Samantak, not the Samantak, which is that river? Samantak, right? Samantak river. That is our goal. So actually in Kurukshetra, what is happening is that when the Brajbasis, especially the gopis, because of deeply afflicted, Hridaya Kataram, Hey Mathuranath, as Srimati Radhana is saying, they were deeply afflicted, and when they met Krishna, actually their affliction intensified. They became still more highly disturbed. And this disturbance is not a material disturbance, it is a spiritual disturbance, what they were feeling. And when somebody is very disturbed, it's very difficult to serve that person. It's very difficult. If you have all had experience, if somebody is highly disturbed and you have to go and serve him, you'll have to tolerate that disturbance and do the service. So that's very difficult. And that is why Srimati Radharani is highly disturbed there. Firstly, she is disturbed because of deeply afflicted being separation from Krishna. And now seeing Krishna in this Gopavesh, and there's sounds of the horses and the chariots, and she's feeling the atmosphere of Vrindavan, the sweet cooking cuckoo bird sound, the sweet sound of the peacocks. That is creating more disturbance. And there, actually, we have a service. And by serving, we are doing the highest assistance to the Brajvasis, the gopis of Vrindavan. So that is our mission. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was addressing to his inmates there. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually reveals, he says that I don't want to do my bhajan in Navdeep. I don't want to do my bhajan in Jagannath Puri. I don't want to do my bhajan in Vrindavan. Then we might wonder, we Gaudiya Vaishnavas, these are the only 3 places for us. Yes? But I want to do my bhajan in Kurukshetra, he says. And we might wonder, why Kurukshetra, among all the other places, holy places? Why in Kurukshetra? Because he says that actually Srimati Radharani is highly disturbed there, and that assistance is more important. Similarly, ISKCON is the body of Srila Prabhupada. And devotees who actually within this body of ISKCON, wherever there is a crisis in the temple, where there are deep issues involved and there are disturbances, when somebody goes and serves there, actually it is directly service to Srimati Radharani. And nobody would like to take such kind of services. We know that, right? So this is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually reveals his heart, that why he wants to do bhajan in Kurukshetra. And here we are seeing, now I'm going back to this discussion what is happening, that in this chapter, Draupadi is hearing the glories of the queen's love for Krishna. And even the gopis are hearing. In fact, the gopis meeting with Krishna has happened in the previous chapters only. And then the sages arrive there. Seeing the sages arriving, Krishna, welcomes them and actually glorifies the sages. And the sages are bewildered hearing this glorification. And in silence they contemplate. And they say that this is the inconceivable Leela of the Lord, because you want to teach people in general. Chikurshu Loka Sangram. And they are about to depart. Then Vasudev addresses the sages. And he says that, Karmana karma nirharo. How I can become free from karmic reactions? What is the remedy? And the sages are bewildered. Arey, you are the son. Your son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What karma you need to perform? But there is a, external reason and an internal reason. And we'll come to that in these verses. What is the reason? So the sages understand the heart of Vasudeva, why he is asking this question. Vasudeva did not perform any rituals. But then they give a solution, they give a remedy. That actually, there are 3 types of rin you have. There is the Rishi rin, there is the Deva rin, and the Pitra rin. And you have the Pitra rin already performed and the Rishi rin. But the Deva rin you have to perform. So perform a yagya for satisfying Vishnu. So the yagya has begun now. And here the description of the yagya event is being described in these verses, in the last few verses and even these verses. And within this yagya, as text 48 is mentioning, Tabir Dakula Valayair. All are dressed. Vasudeva is initiated. Actually, he took Diksha. In the Sri Sampradaya, whenever there is an initiation happening, in fact, the Yajman is initiated. And then the yagya begins. Of course, in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, it is not like that, but in the Sri Sampradaya, we see. So, Vasudeva gets initiated in this yagya. And being initiated along with his wives, all the wives are dressed in silk saris, Hara Nupura Kundale, Swa Alankrit Vibhavo. They are, they are Alankrit and they are shining. And interestingly, how can these Brahmanas initiate Vasudeva? How can they initiate him? So the deeper purport here the acharyas explain that who is Vasudeva? Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. Vasudev is one whose antakaran. Who is antakaran? Who manifest? Vasudev. Who manifest? Krishna manifest. So this is the pure-hearted Vasudeva. He is endowed with a pure heart, with pure sattva. Or Vasudeva means, Deva means to shine. And Vasu means the wealth of bhakti. So in fact, Vasudeva had the wealth of bhakti, and these priests, by initiating Vasudeva, actually they got initiated into bhakti. The priest got initiated into bhakti. So this is the inner meaning. And the ladies, his wives, all his 18 wives are decorated. Very nicely it is described here in this verse. In fact, it is said that traditionally in the Vedic sacrifices, the wife and the ladies should be decorated with silk saris and ornaments. And actually this is a sign of auspiciousness. It is a sign of purity. That is the Vedic culture. I remember many years back, I had gone to Gokarna, not to do some yagya or some sacrifices. That was an external reason. Somebody had gone with me, come with me. And in the early morning, I had gone to take darshan of Lord Shiva there in the temple. And early morning, I saw the residents of this place, Gokarna, dressed in silk saris with golden ornaments and carrying, the paraphernalia for worship. And suddenly it looked like a scene, some Lakshmis are actually going for worshipping. So actually by dressing in silk saris and with all ornaments, actually it creates auspiciousness. So that's what is being mentioned in text 48. And in text 49, Tasya arjito maharaja ratna kaushisha vasasa sa sadasya virejusta yata vrito hana advare. And here in this verse it is mentioned that the priest, O king, when Sukadeva is addressing Maharaj Parikshit as O king, actually he is experiencing joy. Sukadeva is experiencing joy. And what is the reason? He is actually seeing this scene. Sukadeva Goswami is seeing this scene and he is experiencing joy. And why is he experiencing joy? Because these priests, Ritvija, Ratna Kaushe Vasasa, they are wearing, jewels and silk, garments. They are wearing all these silk garments and they are appearing effulgent. They are appearing very effulgent, Vireju, appearing effulgent, just like Vitrahana Advare. Just like the Indra who was the killer of Vritarasura, performed this yagya and he was shining effulgent. Now these priests are also looking effulgent, and the reason the priests are looking effulgent is because they are wearing the remnants of the garments of Krishna and Balram and their associates. That is the reason they are looking effulgent. So this is the inner reason that they are looking effulgent. And then Tada Ramascha Krishnascha Swe Swer Bandhubir Anvita Retudu Swa Sute Tarer Jiviso Swa Vibhutibi. Now there is Krishna and Balram along with all the associates, Swa Bandhubi, and they are also looking very, very effulgent along with their sons and wives. And then in this verse it is mentioned that they perform these yagyas. And Prabhupada disciples in the purport mention that they perform these yagyas with vidhana. And there are two yagyas which are mentioned. One is the Jyotishoma yagya, which is meant to go to the heavenly planets, and other is the Darsha Purnamasa. It is the full moon and the new moon yagya which is done. These are all given these are very technical, given in the Vedic sacrifices. And how? Prakrita Vikrita. Prakrita means from the original, like the Shrutis. And Vaikrita means that which were derived from the Prakrita. Just like there are the Shruti and the Smriti Shastras. Shruti are the original mantras which don't change. And Smriti are the sages who realize the Shrutis and their own realizations are present like that. So they did this. Now, the deeper reason why Vasudeva is performing these yagyas, rituals, although he need not perform, is because generally people are addicted to karma. And when Vasudeva is setting an example for the people in general, because by performing this yagyas, people in general will perform these yagyas during solar eclipse in these holy places. And especially in Kurukshetra, one who does this, the external, these rituals are there, but what is the internal reason? By performing this, all their sins will be destroyed, and the transcendental service to the Lord will awaken by doing this service in these holy places. So that is the reason Vasudev externally is performing these yagas. Although he's purified, he need not, he doesn't have any debts to the rishis or the sages or to the devatas. Narad himself had already mentioned about it previously in the 11th canto only it comes, Sarvatma Sharanya Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariharitya Sritam. It was already mentioned. So these are the internal and the external reasons why the sages also told them to perform this yagya, and why Vasudev, although he is pure, he performed these yagyas. So I'll just summarize what we discussed. We discussed, these pastimes which are there in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are the Aishwarya Leela which is going on. How as Gaudiya Vaishnavas we should see this. And just like in the Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned, Jnanam teham sa vijnanam. I will give you knowledge as well as the realization. So Gyan here refers to the Aishwarya Gyan, and Vigyan refers to the Madhurya Gyan. The sweetness of Krishna, how Krishna protects his devotees, how Krishna is merciful to his devotees. So in that context, the Aishwarya Gyan means to understand Krishna's pastimes with this creation, which are described in the first 3 cantos, and the Aishwarya features of the Lord's avatars, which are described from the 3rd canto to the 9th canto. And there is Avatari Krishna, Akhila Rasamrit Murti Krishna, whose pastimes are described in the 10th canto. And these are the Madhurya Vrindavan pastimes. And also there are the Dwarka and the Mathura Leela, which are his Aishwarya pastimes. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, as Mahaprabhu's followers, Aradhya Bhagwan Vrajatanes, how we see this? We see it in 2 ways. One is, we see, as Jiva Goswami says, from a Vrindavan-centric point of view, how the Vrindavan Vrajvasis see these pastimes. And secondly, these Aishwarya pastimes also help us to become free from the anarthas. As in the Satyajit pastime, he wanted to become more radiant and opulent like Krishna by possessing that Samantak jewel. And within the Vrindavan pastimes, there is the Nitya and the Naimittik Leela. And the Naimittik Leela is more important because that destroys the anarthas, the demons in the heart. So, in that context also, these Aishwarya pastimes are very important for us to understand. And within this Dwarka and Mathura Leela, these 3 chapters where Krishna goes to Kurukshetra are the heart of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The whole Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy evolved from this. And we know that in the Rath Yatra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was particularly, reciting verse nobody could understand except Sarup Damodar. Rupa Goswami understood it. And then he composed that verse, So it is the gopis of Vrindavan who are meeting Krishna after deep separation for a long time. Although they could go to Mathura, which was nearby, they did not go because there was Rasabhas. But they went to Kurukshetra, although Kurukshetra was far. And the reason being that, in Kurukshetra, the deeper affliction what Srimati Radharani is facing, that is brought out. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his article addressing the Gaudiya Math devotees, he brings out the import of the hidden mysteries of Kurukshetra. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says that I would like to do my bhajan in Kurukshetra, not in Navdeep or Vrindavan. And as we discussed within this chapter, the sages arrive and Krishna glorifies, and the sages are bewildered, but he understands that, Krishna is acting in his Nar Leela to teach a lesson to others. Similarly, Vasudeva approaches to perform yagyas. He need not perform any yagyas because he is pure at heart. But these external rituals have an internal reason. And those who perform these rituals, they get purified and their awakening of service to Vrindavan and Brajbasis can awaken. So that is why, these reasons here we can see in these verses that it is brought out in these verses. And although Vasudeva is shining effulgently, being initiated, but it is, it is the sages, the priests there, they are getting bhakti because of Vasudeva. They are getting bhakti. And they are shining because of wearing the beautiful garments. And these garments are actually the remnants. And that's why they are shining. So, externally these rituals, although they are performing, they are also getting that devotion. And here in these verses, in this purport today, this Prakrit and Vaikrita yagyas which he is performing have a deeper import, although they are technical. But it has, especially in Kurukshetra, when these are performed, it awakens our devotion to Vrindavan and the Brajbasis. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any questions, any comments? Yes, Prabhuji.
So they sometimes say that the Krishna of Vrindavan is different from the Krishna of Dwaraka or Mathura. I mean, it's still the same Krishna, but without the, he has a different maybe attitude or profile or relationship. And if Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, he's there in the bhava form in the sense, and the meditation, the gopis are meditating. So what's then they're feeling separation. I'm just giving you a few different things. Then the yagya is being performed in Kurukshetra, Ahobata Shwapachoto Gariyan Yajavagri Namatubin. So if one is chanting the holy name, the gopis are always chanting the names and hearing the names, then what is actually the benefit of yagyas and doing all these other rituals, you say, for purification? But if one's already chanting the holy name, what's the use of following so many rituals and yagyas and performing different tapasyas? Anyway, I threw a barrage out there.
Yes, I got it. There are two aspects in it. I will answer the two aspects. The one is, as I was mentioning, Kurukshetra, the affliction of the Brajbasis, they are already deeply afflicted because of separation, but that affliction intensifies in Kurukshetra. And we can see Nand Maharaj, when he left Krishna in Mathura and came back, he was feeling separation, but he came back immediately. But here you see, Nand Maharaj's separation from Krishna, intensifies deeper here. And in fact, he could not go for 3 months. He could not go from Kurukshetra for 3 months. So his intensity of separation intensified there in Kurukshetra. Similarly is for the gopis. Now, in fact, Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan not to pacify the gopas and others who were in different rasas, but only to Nanda, Yashoda and the gopis. Because the gopas, although Krishna left Mathura, in their spurti, they were able to feel that Krishna is there. So they were not feeling that separation. But the prema of especially Nanda and Yashoda and the gopis was so deep that even that spurti could not satisfy them. So there was a deeper reason. That's why they went to see Krishna there. And of course, these external rituals which Vasudeva is performing, this is not for the devotees. This is for people in general who are of the karmakandi mentality. And when they perform these rituals, they get that benefit. They get that benefit. That they get purified of the sins and their devotion to Krishna can awaken. And especially, what is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying to his Matvasis that, it's a solar eclipse and people are going to come here. So we have to assist them. We have to assist them. Now we might wonder, why we have to go and be part of, their, yagyas and rituals, what they're performing. So Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that any karma kanda yagya, when it is being performed, and if a Vaishnava enters that yagya and he just sits in that yagya will have a completely different result. It will give a completely different result. So in that context, these are the two external and the internal reasons why, for the gopis and for the people in general.
When the opening of the temple was taking place in 1975, Prabhupada sat very patiently. He tolerated all the rituals and the yagyas and all the different ceremonies, but as you said, they were for the public and also others would take this as an official opening. He said the holy name would have been sufficient, the kirtan is sufficient, but sometimes for the purposes of those who don't have that realization or understanding, Prabhupada had to tolerate the ritual. Not that it's bad, but he's saying that the Sankirtan or the holy name chanting would have been sufficient, but he had to do it in a sense that's traditional.
Yes, Prabhupada did that, and Prabhupada's faith in the holy name we can see even in the sannyas ceremony initiation. When the whole sannyas initiation yagya was going on, Prabhupada said, Akinchan Krishnadas, chant the holy name, the kirtan. And he said, don't stop the kirtan, So Prabhupada had that faith, that in the holy name. So both these aspects are there. Any other clarification? Yes, please.
I like the way you put the accent on that, just as Panchagoda was saying. Sometimes devotees talk about all the different sacrifices and atonements you had to do in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga. But we might have noticed that we're not in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga. So it was more important how you brought out what Lord Chaitanya gave us for this age and how Prabhupada specifically gives us the things that are appropriate for us now more than what was in a past age. Sometimes devotees talk about all the atonements and things you did in past ages, but that's not what's important for us. It's what Prabhupada and Chaitanya gave us for this time period. I appreciate how you accented that.
Yes, the atonement, the highest atonement is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Okay.
Mataji, in the chair.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. It's so pleasing to see that you are so young, but you have already so much realization, so much knowledge to share. You have such a strong, intelligent, and logic. It's really wonderful to see. My question is, you mentioned that we should look at the Dwaraka pastimes and Mathura pastimes with the eyes of Brijabasis. Can you please explain about this little more, and maybe you can give some references where we can read about this, how Brijabasi discuss these topics?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, basically, how as Gaudiya Vaishnavas we should see the Dwarka and the Mathura pastimes, we can see that in two ways. One is by studying the Bhagavatam first, by studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, and more important by studying the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, as I was mentioning in the middle 6 chapters, gives the Aishwarya Gyan and the Madhurya Gyan. So what is this Aishwarya Gyan? How Krishna manifests this universe. Bhumi rapo anulavayu kham manor buddhi revacha ahankarityam me bhinna prakriti ashtada. So this is his energy. And how do we perceive Krishna in his energy? How do we perceive him? within our state of material consciousness. These elements are there, earth, water, fire, air, ether, but within those the sense objects, each of these sense objects is a manifestation of potency of Krishna. Raso mapsu kaunteya. Krishna is identifying that rasa, that taste, what you are tasting, is that it is me, he's saying. So I was other day discussing that if you actually go and drink a jharna water, or water which is flowing from the mountains and hills, if you just go and taste it, actually you'll feel some bliss and ecstasy, because it is having purity, and that purity is a sign of happiness, and that is just a glimpse of Krishna, and that's what is Krishna consciousness. So seeing his energy, how he is pervading in his energy, this knowledge, Aishwarya Gyan, is very important, because that will lead to more devotion towards Krishna. And then with that devotion to Krishna, and Krishna how he reciprocates, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam. He reciprocates with us, and feeling that reciprocation, that causes intimacy towards Krishna. That is Madhurya. So similarly, by studying the first 3 cantos, which are in fact the second and the third canto is more difficult, the creation pastime, we understand the Lord's powers, how he creates these universes. So studying the Gita, the Bhagavatam, and especially the 10th canto, we should study as it is, the 10th canto, all the pastimes, as Prabhupada is given in his Krishna book and in the Bhagavatam. And then, after we are quite, steadily situated in understanding the Bhagavatam, then, Srila Jiva Goswami has given his Gopal Champu. And in the Gopal Champu, he is presenting these pastimes, how the Vrajbasis are seeing these pastimes. And what is their mood, what is their devotion. And that devotion we want to emulate. So those pastimes, in fact, when Madhukanta and Sindhakanta are narrating these Dwarka pastimes, the Brajbasis comment, "Arey, how can they do this? Krishna is, so Komala, how can they allow him to fight for so long?" Like that. So that, their sentiments are expressed, in the Gopal Champu. So by studying that, then we can see from a Vrindavan-centric point of view also. But the Aishwarya pastimes, even in the 10th canto, are important to study, because that will help us to become free from the anarthas. And that will strengthen our knowledge of Bhagavad Tattva, which is very important as a Sambandha Gyan to practice our Abhidheya. Is it okay?
Thank you so much. I also remember that Srila Prabhupada is himself Brijabasi, and his purports in all Bhagavatam is already Brijabasi view.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's also true.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Grantaraj.
Even though we're here in Vrindavan and we're worshiping Radhikam and Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said that we should be worshipping in the mode of Lakshmi Narayan. This is until we come to the mode of Raga, or because we're worshipping in opulence.
Yes.
We're not dressing Krishna as a cow-herd boy in very simple clothing. But this is very much in line with what you're talking about.
I'm not able to hear. Can you speak more?
You don't like the microphone?
Hare Krishna. Okay, it's working now. So it seems quite dangerous living here in Vrindavan, that we can fall into this trap of a sort of a sahaja mentality of thinking of Radha and Krishna, that we're actually in some sort of relationship with Radha and Krishna in these Vrindavan pastimes, but actually we're meant to be worshipping still in this mood of Aishwarya until we're more elevated.
Yes.
Can you comment on that at all?
Yes, basically, in Vrindavan, we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very careful. And until one has come to the stage of Raga. Raga means one has ruchi. One has come to the stage of ruchi in bhakti. That kind of intimacy, seeing Krishna in that mood will not manifest in the heart. And trying to artificially imitate, that is very detrimental to our practice of bhakti. So that's why we should worship in the mood of real awe and reverence. I remember His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, who was the temple president here, he narrated us personally that when he was a temple president here, one of the pujaris, while dressing the deity, went and hugged Krishna, which is, you cannot do that, that kind of, intimacy, because we need adhikar, and Prabhupada spoke about it a lot, adhikar. And first of all, to understand, we need adhikar to practice Shuddha Bhakti. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kamsati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labate paraha. Prabhupada says, actual devotional service begins from when one is from the liberated platform. So, it's a very high qualification required. And one who has that, you cannot even understand that he has it. And he'll never exhibit it. Externally, you can never understand, But Krishna actually reciprocates with them, because they have developed that mood. And that is what is a teaching which Mahaprabhu has come. And for that, we have to be solidly situated in, the tattva which Prabhupada is giving in his books.
Thank you.
Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnavant ki jai. Hare Krishna.